Back. So, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Or, well, I'm stuck. Happy day after Thanksgiving. I was going through, like a list of what stuff I could do and stuff yesterday at the station, and I decided, you know what? You know what is great? You know what I love? You know what's always been fantastic? The Friends Thanksgiving episodes. So, I went through all of them, and I mean all of them, watched them again. It actually wasn't that long. It's 10 episodes, and I decided I'm going to rank them. So, hopefully you don't get too pissed off. Welcome to the newest episode of SDW.
Super Dario World!
You actually have no idea how difficult this was. This was extremely difficult. Not only did I watch every single episode again, I wanted to do it yesterday because I figured, you know what, Thanksgiving, let's just do this on Thanksgiving, a special Thanksgiving Day episode. But I had to converse with my siblings about it. I had to talk with my kid brother and my kid sister who love the show as well, as much as I do, and who we've always had the debate of, are the Thanksgiving Friends episodes among the best Friends episodes? Are they the best? Or definitely a lot of them would be in the top ranked episodes of all time. And so I had to converse with them, and then, I had to do a lot of soul searching, and finally I decided, you know what? I think I got it. I think I nailed it. And I'm still torn because the top 5 is phenomenal. The top 5 are among the best Friends episodes of all time. So it was difficult, but I'll get into that in a minute. Let me just give you a quick reminder that any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at Dario the Show on Instagram and at Super Dario World. Also, I'm trying to live stream wherever I can, weekdays, at Super Dario World on Twitch and on YouTube. And if you just want to follow along with the video uploads by itself on YouTube, I don't know, a few hours from now after I'm done streaming. So if you want to see the show with the visuals there, you can always find it on YouTube at Super Dario World. So let's begin here. I guess a little sound effect. I can't do music anymore because they get copyright claims and stuff. So there you go. That's enough. Hopefully I won't get a claim for that or won't get a hit. But all right, so let's begin. Like I said, I was debating on what I could do Thanksgiving related. There's really not that many movies, and I'm honestly not the biggest Thanksgiving guy. I don't really care too much for it, just for the food. But I guess that's the same thing for everybody. And so I decided, you know what? We've had this conversation of are the best Friends episodes Thanksgiving episodes, and I love Friends. And I said, you know what? I'm just here sitting at the station. I'm gonna go through them again. I'm going to go through every single one of the Friends Thanksgiving episodes because they're phenomenal, and I'm going to rank them. So that was an excellent use of my time. One of the best things I've done so far in this show, and hopefully you won't get too pissed off with the results. So let's begin. Let's start off. It's one of them is kind of cheating. I'll say that right now. So that's 10 seasons overall. The show expanded 10 seasons, and one of them technically did not have a Thanksgiving episode. It was not a traditional Thanksgiving episode, but it's close enough. And honestly, I want to keep an episode for that season. That's the closest to a Thanksgiving episode, and that's why I kept it there. But you know what? Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, folks. So let's begin. Let's get started here. So we got number 10. So this would be the worst one. All right. The worst Thanksgiving episode, the worst Friends Thanksgiving episode, which still wasn't that bad, is season 10, episode 8, the one with the late Thanksgiving. Now, the reason why I don't like this is the one where everybody's with the floating heads. Let me just give you like a quick recap of what happened. Monica doesn't want to host Thanksgiving this year because, they're getting ready to adopt kids and all that stuff. And everybody else is like, no, why aren't you going to do it? And so they convinced her to do it. However, Joey and Ross, they go to a hockey game. Phoebe and Rachel, they go to a beauty pageant for babies. And so they're all late, and Monica's pissed off, and basically they don't want to let them back into the apartment. So the reason why this one is so low is because they use a bunch of, let's say, jokes that don't make a lot of sense. the situation is probably the weakest out of all the Thanksgiving episode situations, and I mean super weak. Like what, they were late, 45 minutes late to Thanksgiving dinner. That's nothing. You should meet my family. We're hours late for everything always. It's a tradition. Like my brother has even lied to my mom about things being an hour earlier than they actually are, just to make sure she's there on time. 45 minutes is not bad at all. But I can understand why somebody would be upset. Anyway, like I said, it's a weak situation. Just being late and not wanting people to come in is a very, very weak situation. Like, what's the alternative? More food's gonna go to waste? I don't get it. And they keep making a joke about Monica's vein popping out, and I mean, at this point, this is season 10. We've seen Monica for 10 years, and the vein thing is, they've never made fun of that for 10 years. I don't know, and now they're trying to make it like it's a common thing. I don't know. It was just weak. It was still funny. Like the comedic brilliance of the actors is still great, but the situation was a weak situation. So that's why it's all the way down. It still ends with a little bit, of like a heartfelt thing, even though Joey gets stuck in the door. They have to break the door down, and he falls on the food, and which is set up in a way that we've never seen food set up before. And so he falls directly on it, and Monica's not upset because she got a call from the adoption agency that they're gonna get the kid. So it's still into the like in a high note. But it was a weak episode. So there you go. That's why it's all the way down at number 10, the weakest one. Next, we have for number 9, we have season 1, episode 9, the one where Underdog gets away. So this is the very first Thanksgiving episode. This is in the very first season. The show was still, I think it figured out what it wanted to be very quickly. The situation for this one was, again, just kind of weak. They locked themselves out of them. Well, first off, everybody had other Thanksgiving plans. Like Joey was going to go with his family. There's great stuff in this episode. In this episode, Joey, he's going to be one of the super healthy guys. He's a model now, and he ends up being the face for VD. So his family doesn't want to spend Thanksgiving with him. Ross is upset that Carol and Susan, well, it's his ex-wife, Carol, is pregnant, and Susan's been talking to the baby, to the baby's belly. And so Ross wants to go talk to the belly as well. Rachel was supposed to go skiing with her family, and Phoebe really doesn't do much. So Monica takes it on herself to host the first Thanksgiving because her parents are out of town, and they accidentally lock themselves out of their apartment because the giant balloon of Underdog gets away, and they go to the roof to check it out, and they forget to get the keys. Now, again, we've seen that apartment for 10. At this point, it's still season 1, so I guess it's forgivable. But we've seen that apartment for 10 years. It's never locked. Like none of these apartments are ever locked, and everybody has a key to that apartment. So it's season 1. I get it. It's different. But still, kind of pushing it a little. Anyway, it's funny. It's good. It kind of set up the whole Thanksgiving vibe. It's just compared to all the other ones, it's a weak situation. Like literally, they just locked themselves out of the apartment, and Thanksgiving was ruined. So. The highlight of this one, because they always end on a high note, if you remember. The high note for this one is that ugly naked guy gets an ugly naked gal. So they get to see ugly naked gal and ugly naked girl hook up. So there you go. This is also where we learn that Chandler hates Thanksgiving because that's when his parents told him that they were going to get, divorced. So there you go. Next, we have number, what is it? 10, 9. All right, 8. So on number 8, we have season 9, the one with Rachel's other sister. This is where Christina Applegate, she's guest starring on the episode, and she's kind of a total bitch, and everybody hates her. But Christina Applegate, Amy, in the episode, her name's Amy, she wants to get Emma. So for those of you who don't know, Emma is Rachel and Ross's baby. Emma's born at this point, and Christina Applegate is offended that she doesn't get Emma in the case that Ross and Rachel die. Then Chandler gets offended because at first they said, oh yeah, well, if we die, Monica and Chandler get Emma. But if Monica dies, then Ross's parents get Emma, and Chandler gets offended for that. So it's a good situation. This is the situation where they bring out the fancy china, and Monica is very, very overprotected about the fancy china. So it's a good episode. It's funny. It's just, again, kind of a weak situation. The overall, it's like I said, it's still very funny. Christina Applegate is great because she's such a bitch. She's such a total bitch. And she was like upset because she couldn't spend dinner at her boyfriend's house because her wife was in town. So overall, it culminates in a slap fight between Christina Applegate and Rachel, which is always phenomenal. And Chandler accidentally breaking all of Monica's plates. So it's solid. Again, this whole series is solid. It's one of the greatest shows of all time for a reason. It's one of the greatest sitcoms of all time for a reason. This is just one on the weaker side. Doesn't mean it's bad. It's just on the weaker side. Also, I know that Friends has been kind of controversial in the last few years. You know, when millennials start watching and all that stuff. My answer to that is fuck you. There's such a thing as historical context, and for its time, things are made in a particular time and a place. So fuck you, trying to put modern values into things that were okay at that time. So there you go. That's my take on that. Next, we have number 6, and this is the one that's kind of controversial, but here we go. Number 6 is season 2, episode 8, the one with the list. Season 2, technically did have a Thanksgiving episode, but it's not a Thanksgiving episode. It's weird. It's very vague. I don't know why. They did one in season 1. I guess for season 2, they decided, we're not going to do it. Or we're going to do it like very lightly. And the only thing that's kind of Thanksgiving about this one is that Monica gets hired to make Thanksgiving Day recipes for Mocklet. That is a replacement chocolate that she gets hired to do recipes for. So that's why this is technically the Thanksgiving episode for season 2, but it's not a traditional Thanksgiving episode. However, it is still a fantastic episode. This is the episode where Ross is dating Julie, the paleontologist, you know, the very cool, very attractive paleontologist. And the previous episode, Ross kissed Rachel. So this is the episode where Ross is trying to decide between Julie and Rachel, and Chandler, with his new laptop, helps him make a pros and cons list. It is a phenomenal episode. It's great for many reasons. Particularly the situation where Rachel sees sees the list, and Chandler has to read it. And my favorite moment of this episode comes at the end, because honestly, Rachel is upset. I don't think deservedly so. I mean, I get it. I understand. But it's weird, you know? Throughout life, I've always found my way. I always kind of relate to Ross. I relate to all three of the guys. Okay, I relate to all three of them. Because I'm goofy, like Joey. I'm immature. I'm unnecessarily sarcastic and mean, like Chandler sometimes. And Ross, I have certain personality traits that remind certain people of my behavior sometimes. Like my sandwich, it came out of my heart, but I completely related to Ross there. Also, they were on a break. That I need that to be clear here. Anyway, so making a pros and cons list makes perfect sense to me. It's like you're trying to make the best decision here, and in the end, he follows his heart. So I totally understand Ross's position here, and I would have probably done something similar. Well, actually, no, I would have done something completely different. But I can also understand why Rachel is upset. The thing that's great here is that it's kind of a downer, because Rachel sees it, it's upset. It's a buildup. I've talked about this before. In film, you want to bring couples together. In TV, you want to keep them apart. And here, it was a buildup. It was a moment. It was like, finally, all right, Ross said, well, Julie's not Rachel. That's her con. And you're like, oh, he's finally realized that his heart's there. They're both there. They're finally going to come together. Oh, my God. And all of a sudden, it implodes. It's beautiful. It's one of the greatest keeping them apart of TV history. But it still ends on kind of a high note, because, well, not high note, but it's still on a funny note. So Rachel's really upset. She's looking out the window, and Ross calls Monica and asks her to turn on the radio. So they turn on the radio, and the DJ plays a song, you know, from Ross to Rachel. Hopefully you'll forgive us. And I believe it's You Two, With or Without You. You're like, with or without you. And I'm not gonna start singing all that stuff. And it's a very beautiful moment. So Rachel's kind of sad. She picks up the phone. She makes a call, and and then the radio DJ just stops the song. She's like, Ross, I'm not gonna. Rachel just called us to tell us why she was upset with you, and I don't want to play your song anymore. That's genius. That's genius writing. So I love it, and it's, like I said, it's a great episode overall. It's a build up, and then it blows up in their faces. It's great. So I had to keep it there. Very super technically, Thanksgiving episode, and that's why I snuck it in there, and I don't care because this is my list. Anyway, next we have, what is it, number 5. So number 5 is season 7, episode 8, the one where Chandler doesn't like dogs. And the main plot point here is exactly what I said. We discover after 7 years that Chandler doesn't like dogs, and it makes perfect sense because it's Chandler. There's also another a subplot that Rachel invites her assistant Tag, you know, the younger, the good-looking dude in his 20s. She invites him over to Thanksgiving. He's sad because he just broke up with his girlfriend. And there's another subplot where Ross is trying to write all 50 states in less than 6 minutes. He can't do it. And so he decides, I'm not going to have dinner until I write all 50 states. So here, again, I totally relate to Ross. And I just did this last week, trying to write 150 Pokemon and blanking out in the middle of it and being like, oh my God, what is happening? So I relate to Ross a lot on a lot of things. So I wanted to rank this higher, but objectively, I couldn't do it because of that, I want to rank it higher. And it's because it's so fresh in my mind. It's so fresh. It's so frustrating. It makes you so mad. But I couldn't do it because objectively, I had to be objective. And the top 5 are just, again, some of the greatest of all time. And you could just switch them out however you want because I wouldn't even be mad. I'll give you my arguments. But the most memorable moments, the most memorable line is of this episode is actually a conversation that I recently had with my sister. On the podcast, I said it's a mute point. And she said, no, it's not a mute point. You don't say it's not mute. It's a moot point. And then she used the reference from Friends, and she's like, that's probably the most iconic moment from this episode. No, it's because otherwise it's a moo point. A moo point, yeah, it's like it's a cow's opinion. Doesn't matter. It's moo. So again, genius writing, genius execution, genius everything. Great moment, but overall, the episode does not compare with the top 5. So let's move on to, again, top 5. You can exchange these any way you want. I would not even be pissed off because they're all phenomenal. And these, again, the top 5 are among the best Friends episodes of all time. But let's begin with number 5, and this is season 4, episode 8, the one with Chandler in a box. So context here: Joey is very, very upset at Chandler because Chandler kissed his girlfriend. I'm trying to remember the girl's name. I think I wrote it down. Kathy. So he kissed his girlfriend, Kathy. Also, Joey and Chandler recently got robbed. They robbed everything in their apartment, and Joey got locked in their entertainment station. And so Joey basically said, you know what I did the whole time I was locked in there for 6 hours? I was thinking about how I disappointed you. And so the way that Chandler's going to get Joey's forgiveness is by locking himself up in a box for 6 hours and thinking about what he did. This episode is phenomenal in the delivery for so many things. But let me get through the side stories here. Monica gets some ice in her cornea, and so she has to go see her eye doctor. If you guys remember, Monica's eye doctor was Richard, her ex-boyfriend. And so she goes to the eye doctor. Richard, fortunately, is not there. However, her son is on call, and Monica flirts with him a little, and she decides to invite the son to Thanksgiving. So everybody else is like, ew, 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 ew. That subplot is great because this dude, that poor bastard right here, the Richard's son, walks into probably the most awkward situation ever because Ross is very upset at Rachel because he recently discovered that Rachel returns every single gift she gets. And so Ross was upset because he thinks that Rachel's heartless and doesn't care about any of the things that he gave her. By the way, they've broken up at this point. So Ross and Rachel, this is post-breakup. And so Ross is still kind of bitter about that. And he's like, how things that I gave you from the heart for you, and you just give them away because you have no heart. And Chandler's in a box. So this poor bastard walks into the middle of that. It's great. And also, again, really weird. Free advice, don't date your dad's exes. Just don't. I don't care how hot they are. Just don't date your dad's exes. Also, on a side note, don't date your ex's children. Just don't. It's weird. Leads to great comedy, but it's weird. And Phoebe actually says it best. Like, do you actually want to be in a relationship where you can say the phrase, "That's not how your dad used to do it"? Anyway, so but the the real star of this particular episode is Chandler in the box. And my favorite moment by far is when they're watching the game. Something happens. Everybody cheers like, yeah. And Chandler's like, what happened? What happened? Joey, you kissed my girlfriend. So that moment alone, man, it's great. The whole situation for this particular episode is great. And this is what I'm talking about. Compare the situation of episode 10. Everybody's late, 45 minutes late, to the situation here. Joey's upset because Chandler kissed his girlfriend, so he puts him in a box because it's karmic justice, I guess. And it actually makes perfect sense if you are a justice and balance and vengeful person. Ross is upset at Rachel for exchanging gifts. Monica brings a poor bastard here into the middle of the situation, and that poor bastard happens to be his ex's younger son. It's a great situation. It's awesome. And so, it's not, and still, even though it's a great situation, only number 5. It's only number 5. And again, it ends on a high note because Kathy shows up to say goodbye to Chandler, and Joey's like, oh, just get out of here. We'll be fine, blah, blah. And so it's still, again, a heartwarming moment. Anyway, so that's episode 5. Let's move on to, well, not episode, that's number 5. Let's move on to number 4. And this is season 5, episode 8, the one with all the Thanksgivings. Now, if you go to see most of the rankings of the best Thanksgiving episodes of all time, the best, yeah, maybe of all time, and the best, at least the best friends ones, this is the one that most people have as their number 1. And it's great. This is the one where the iconic moment here is when Monica, and I put the image up here, is when Monica puts the turkey on her head and starts dancing to Chandler. Like, that's the iconic moment of this particular episode. And what happens here is we get to see the whole crew. This is post-Thanksgiving dinner, and the whole crew is sharing their worst Thanksgiving. So Chandler shares that his parents get divorced. Phoebe shares that she was in a different life. She was in the Civil War in Thanksgiving, and she lost her arm. And then Monica shares 3 stories because everybody thinks that she has a different one. Phoebe thinks that it's when Joey stuck his head inside of her turkey, and it's pretty hysterical. Rachel thinks it's another one when they were younger. And so we get to see high school Rachel still with the big nose, and fat Monica, which is always great. And also mustache Ross and Chandler with the Ace Ventura hair, which is, again, great. It's great moments. It's hysterical. Then we get to see, unfortunately, and that's when Chandler calls Monica fat. And that we learned that Monica then clarifies that, oh, yeah, sure, that's the right one. Rachel's like, no, there's actually, I meant the one in the year after. And the one in the next year, Monica's lost all the weight. Rachel's, she's got her nose done. And so they're both looking great. And Monica, by trying to seduce Chandler to humiliate him, she accidentally drops a knife on his foot, and Chandler loses his toe. I was like, that's why I lost my toe, because I called you fat. And it's a great switch, honestly. It's because you feel like, oh man, Chandler, you're such a dick. You called Monica fat, and then you learn that Monica cut off his toe. So it's a great switch around. And the beauty of this episode is that it ends on one of the most heartwarming moments of the show, and it's the first time that Chandler tells Monica that he loves her. It's a great moment. And then she scares Joey. But overall, it's great. It's a great episode. And it hurts me to put it this low, honestly, because it's just that the other ones are better. This one's great. This one's phenomenal. But I think the other ones are better. And so I'm not actually going to give you an argument why I put it this low. I'm going to give you an argument why I put the other ones higher. So that's number 4. Number 3, we have season 8, episode 9, the one with the rumor. And here is where Brad Pitt guest stars. And this might be the best guest star of the show, or the best one-off guest star of the entire show, because Mike was great and David was great. Like David, the scientist guy who dated Phoebe. Those two are probably the best recurring characters in the whole show. Particularly the moment when they both propose to Phoebe. It's hysterical, like, haha. So I love those 2 guest stars, but the best one-off, I think it's Brad Pitt. So a little bit of meta here for those of you who don't know. In this particular point in time, Brad Pitt was married to Rachel. Well, the actress who plays Rachel, Jennifer Aniston. So they were married in real life. However, Brad Pitt's character, Will, hates Rachel. And I mean loathes her entirely. And Monica runs into him at the mall, and at the grocery store, and she invites him to dinner because he's there for business. The situation is great. I'll clarify also a lot of things because there's a lot of things happening in this episode. First off, Monica did not want to make Thanksgiving dinner because Rachel's pregnant with Emma. By the way, for those of you who don't know, Emma's father is Ross. Ross is Rachel's ex-boyfriend, but they're having a kid together, so there you go. So she doesn't want to make Thanksgiving dinner because Rachel right now she has an aversion to poultry because of her pregnancy. Phoebe doesn't eat meat. Chandler doesn't eat Thanksgiving food. And so she's like, why am I only going to make like a whole turkey for 3 people? And Joey's like, you have to make a turkey. And so he accepts the challenge of eating an entire turkey or making sure there's no leftovers. Also, because Brad Pitt doesn't eat turkey, I guess. Yeah, because he lost a lot of weight because he used to be really fat. Anyway, so that's the situation with Joey and Monica. And there you go. So the thing that's great here is that, again, Brad Pitt Will hates Rachel. And it's hysterical. And we start learning a whole bunch of stuff. First off, that he was a part of the I Hate Rachel Green Club. And that Ross was the co-founder. Again, Ross, the parent of Rachel's child, is the father of Rachel's child, is the co-founder of the group. So there's a lot of stuff that starts coming out to the open. We learned that they started that Ross and Will started a rumor that Jennifer Aniston had a very tiny but very real penis, so she was a hermaphrodite. Again, this is why people get upset at the Friends TV show, but I don't understand why, because it was funny at the time. And we also learned that Rachel told everybody that Ross had an affair with a 50-year-old librarian. It's great. And it all culminates with Brad Pitt finding out that Ross got Rachel pregnant and they're not getting married. He's like, dude, up top. Phoebe hugging him. It's great. But the best ongoing joke in this episode, at least to me, is Joey. He keeps saying, who the hell is this guy? Like, seriously, who the hell is this guy? He just keeps attacking Rachel. He's like, seriously, who the hell is this guy? It's great. Honestly, it's great. Like I said, it's probably the best guest star in the entire show. But it's still only number 3. Great episode. Like this, I think Dina said, my sister, I think this was for number 1, but to me, it's number 3. Number 2, we're moving on to season 6, episode 9, the one where Ross got high. Now, this is a phenomenal episode all around. I'll give you a little bit of context. First off, Chandler and Monica are living together. However, Chandler and Monica's parents... I'm sorry. That would be weird. Chandler and Monica's parents. No. Well, first off, Monica and Ross are siblings. Monica is dating Chandler. They're living together. However, Monica and Ross's parents will be coming over for Thanksgiving this year, and they don't know that Monica and Chandler are living together. And not only that they're living together, that they're actually dating. Why? Why hasn't Monica told them? Well, it's because they hate Chandler. Ross and Monica's parents hate Chandler, and it's not exactly clear why. And so that's Chandler's trying to be on his best behavior to help, impress the Gellers. In the meantime, Joey has a very hot roommate dancer. I believe she's a supermodel. I forget her name. But the roommate, the hot dancer roommate, invites him and Ross to go to their hot dancer girlfriend's Thanksgiving. That's basically going to be a party of them drinking. So Ross and Joey want to leave early because they want to go hang out with the hot dancer friends and just drink. Rachel is trying to make she gets assigned to make the dessert for Thanksgiving, and she's making a traditional English trifle, and she's totally messing it up because she put two recipes together, is where she's making a traditional English trifle and a shepherd's pie. And finally, Phoebe had a sex dream about Ross and Monica's dad, Jack Geller, and so she keeps having a bunch of impure thoughts about Jack Geller. Afterwards, she has another dream where where Jack Geller cheats on her, and so she's upset at him. However, Jacques Cousteau shows up, and now she's into Jacques Cousteau. It's a great episode. Again, this is a very highly complex situation. Joey and Ross are trying to get everybody to lie to Rachel and say the dessert is good. Chandler's trying to figure out why they hate him, and it turns out that the reason why Jack and I forget why the Gellers hate Chandler is because Ross was caught smoking pot once by his parents. Well, his room smelled like pot back when he was in college, when he was back, for break. and he blamed it on Chandler. He said, oh yeah, Chandler got high and he jumped out the window. And so now the parents hate Chandler because they think he's a junkie. So Monica tries to convince Ross, to confess. And this, there's a lot of stuff going on, but the reason why this is number 2 is because this leads to the best minute in all of the Friends Thanksgiving episodes. And this is when everybody starts yelling out their own thing. This is where Monica gets pissed off at Ross, and he starts going on like, Mom, Chandler didn't smoke pot in college. Ross did. And Ross got married in Vegas and got divorced again. And Ross is like, you're such a tattletale. Like, Monica and Chandler are living together. And Phoebe's, oh, look, Jacques Cousteau. I wasn't supposed to put beef on the trifle. I want to go. So everybody's yelling. And so the first 30 seconds is them just yelling out crazy people. And then Mrs. Geller, she even says it like, that was a lot of information for 30 seconds. And the other 30 seconds is her just putting everybody in their place. Like, Rachel, Joey, if you want to leave, just leave. Rachel, no, you were not supposed to put beef on the trifle. It did not taste good. Phoebe, I'm sorry. I think Jacques Cousteau is dead. Ross, drugs, divorced again. What happened, son? Oh man, it's fucking genius. I love it. This is just that's just top Friends. Like that's the best. That's amazing writing right there. Amazing everything. So, to me, that's just because of that minute alone. The whole situation is phenomenal, but just because of that minute alone, because of the insanity, how well executed it is, and how hysterical it is, that's why I keep it at number 2. However, which one is number 1? You probably figured it out by now, but number 1 of the rankings of the best Friends Thanksgiving episodes of all time, we have season 3, episode 9, the one with the football. Let me explain why this is great. Because there's such a thing. I've talked about simplicity a lot. And simplicity is a beautiful thing. So there's a few things happening here. Basically, the crew decides, you know what? Let's go out and play a game of football. Let's go out, and here we find out about the sibling rivalry between Monica and Ross. So the episode's actually pretty simple. It's about rivalry, 100%. It's about the rivalry between Monica and Ross, and who's going to get the Geller Cup, basically. Because as kids, they took it too far, and now as adults, they're worried about still being able to do it. However, it's also the rivalry between Joey and Chandler, who meet a hot Dutch girl, Macha. I think that's how she said it, Macha, and they're trying to compete to see who gets the girl. And afterward, it becomes a rivalry of guys versus girls, because the girls are, Monica's team is up 42-21, and Ross is like, well, it's only because you got the better team. He's like, all right, fine, we'll give you Joey, you give us Rachel, and it'll be guys versus girls. So it's high stakes all around, baby. High stakes. There's love stakes. There's sibling rivalry stakes. There's the battle of the sexes. It's beautiful. And the reason why I put this as number 1, because simplicity is great. Anybody can relate to this. It's a highly relatable episode. But the most important thing, you don't really need any context outside of this episode to understand it 100%. 100%. That's I was talking to with my family about it, and my sister was like, oh, which episode can we give my dad to watch? Because my dad never watched Friends. And after thinking about it, and after having rewatched all this is the one that I came down with. If you're going to show a Thanksgiving episode to anybody that has never seen Friends, this is the one you want to show them. Because it's, first off, hysterical. It's completely relatable. And they don't need any context outside of this episode to get it. Because in the episode, it's stated that Ross and Monica are siblings. So you don't even need to know that beforehand. It is great all around. If you're only going to watch one, I recommend this one. It's timeless. It's great. It's hysterical. And that's why it's my number 1. Hopefully you guys agree. And if not, I don't care. This is my list. You can make your own list, and then we'll debate it. You can make your arguments. I'll listen to them. I'll listen to the arguments. You're probably wrong, but whatever. And that's it. That's it for today. I'm going to leave it at that. Hopefully you enjoyed it. As always, if there's any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at Dario the Show on Instagram and at Super Dario World. Live stream of this video will be up later on YouTube at Super Dario World. As always, thank you for listening, and I'll see you again next time. And, have a nice Thanksgiving weekend. Happy Black Friday, all that stuff. Have a good one. See you Monday.